Alright, what's up guys? New deck profile today. We are doing Predaplants. This deck I'm actually doing a tier list on sometime. Either I've already uploaded or I'm going to upload it. But I'm doing a simultaneous tier list with this. Yeah, this deck is actually surprisingly budget and surprisingly actually kind of good against the meta right now because you get the main deck Kaijus, Super Poly, stuff like that. But yeah, this is a going second deck. Like I said, surprisingly budget. This is a staple. This is a staple. This is a staple. And you know, these are the only URs you play in the main deck. And in the extra deck, most of the URs are all cards that you probably already own if you're using Super Poly anyway, like Garura, Dracostapelia, the big Predaplant monster with 3 heads. This is the only one that you actually might need to craft, and the Chimera Flesia. But like I said, I went to go put this deck together, and shockingly, I already owned every single card. You know, you guys might want to check. You might actually be able to play this deck. It's fairly fun, and it's really fun, and it's actually fairly competitive. So to start off here, we've got the Predaplant Ant. This card is good for 2 different things. Basically, what it does is it's one of its main effects is that it can search when it leaves the field, which that effect is very good. So if it's destroyed by battle or if it leaves by card effect, meaning like a fusion summon from the field, you can search any Predaplant card. That effect is really good. And then it's got another effect. It's kind of like a recursion effect, or like kind of a, yeah, it's like a good follow-up effect to have in hand, which is if your opponent declares a direct attack, you can summon this, and then your opponent's attack essentially changes to this because they have to replay. And if this is destroyed by battle, then it destroys that opponent's monster. So that's actually pretty good because you just search this at the end of the combo and you get to yeah, just have kind of a little bit of a follow-up in case they break your board. Then you've got the Predaplant Bi-Split. This is a newer card. Still low rarity, but this is a newer card. Basically what this is if it's sent to the graveyard from anywhere, deck or hand or field, anywhere, literally from anywhere, you can add a Predaplant monster from your deck to your hand. That effect is really good. And then it has another effect that's really good, which is if there's a Predaplant counter on the field whatsoever, you can special summon this card back. 3 Max C, we already know what's going on there. Self-explanatory. And Master Duel. 3 copies of the Chlamydia Sundew, which is basically, it just lets you polymerize. It's basically like polymerization on legs, but you can also use your opponent's monster if they have a Predaplant counter on it, so you can fuse away your opponent's stuff if you need to. So we've got 3 of those. 3 Lone Fire Blossoms. This card is one of your only normal summons. You have 2 normal summons, which is the Orpha Scorpio, and you've got the Lone Fire Blossom. Basically, everybody knows what this does. It tributes a monster, summons any plant in the game out onto the field, and it's a soft once per turn, not a hard once per turn, so you can normal summon, use its effect, and then you can actually pendulum out another one and then use its effect again. Orphoscorpia is another one that's it's actually semi-limited in Master Duel, not because of Predaplants, but because of being able to search cards that say fusion in it, like Brilliant Fusion, probably from so many formats ago, but it just happened to like convert over into Master Duel. This card's not actually that good in the deck. It's one of your only normal summons outside of Lone Fire Blossom, but honestly, it's not even really that good in the Predaplant deck. I might actually end up cutting it just because it is kind of minus. You have to send a card from hand, a monster from hand, and then you get to special summon any Predaplant monster. And that, it kind of seems like good, but it's kind of a lot of a minus there. And sometimes it can get like impermed or ashed, and then you lost a monster in your hand, so now you don't have fusion material. This card is actually less good in Predaplant than you might actually think. Then we've got Darling Cobra. This card basically on special summon of a Predaplant monster allows you to search any fusion card or polymerization card. You can search Super Poly, Ultra Polymerization. You can search regular polymerization, Predaplant fusion, any card that says fusion or polymerization. You can even search branded fusion. You can search any fusion card whatsoever. This card, again, it's pretty sick, actually. Now, again, another thing with Orpha Scorpio used to be the only way to enable the Darling Cobra, but now you actually have the extra deck monster, this one right here, and this can actually do it anyway without even having to go into the Orpha Scorpio. You can just go directly into this and then not have to play Orpha Scorpio. So you might even need to, another reason to possibly cut Orpha Scorpio. Then we've got 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Raiden because it's a dark kaiju put on your opponent's board and you confuse away your opponent's monsters, and it's level 7, so it's the same level as Chimera Felicia, so you can banish it if you need to, among other things. And then you can, super poly it away. There's a lot of things you can do with it. Then we play 3 copies of the Bofu Licula. This is another one again, it's a pretty good card. Basically, it's like a polymerization, but it's on a pendulum monster. That's its pendulum effect, and then its monster effect is that if it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a pendulum monster other than itself back to the hand, basically if the graveyard or from the banish pile. And then this is the other pendulum that's really good, Trilantis, and it basically when it's in the pendulum zone, you can use pendulum monsters as fusion material for cards. And then if you its other effect is that if it's sent to the graveyard, it can if it's sent to the graveyard or pendulum zone, you can put predator counters on monsters equal to the monsters you control. This is one of the only convenient and easy ways to get Predaplant counters on things, because all you do is just fusion summon and you get Predaplant counters essentially everywhere, and then it enables a lot of other strategies. And then for the fusion lineup, we play Polymerization just because we only need one. It's searchable. Ultra Polymerization. A lot of people don't know about this one. Basically, you pay 2,000 fusion summon, your opponent can't respond, and then it has another graveyard effect. Where you can banish this card, and then you can special summon the 2 fusion materials that are in the graveyard that you use for the fusion summon of the monster. So that is pretty good because you essentially get 2 monsters right back, and you can keep fusion summoning. It's pretty good. 3 copies of Predapractice. This is probably the best spell in the archetype. It basically lets you special summon Predaplant, and then it lets you add any Predaplant card, which again is pretty cool. Locks you into fusions, but this deck 99% of the time only fusion summons anyway. Predapruning is essentially premature burial, but archetypal and searchable. Then we've got Predaponics. This card, basically every single turn, once per turn, you can special summon a level 4 or lower Predaplant monster from your graveyard back to the field. Its effects are negated. You have to pay 800 life points or destroy this card. That payment is just like Imperial Order, but this card's actually legal. Then we've got 3 copies of Super Poly. I don't have to explain this. One of the best cards ever. Predaprime Fusion is just basically like in archetype Super Poly, but you can only make the 3-headed monster with it. You can't make any others. But yeah, you can fuse your opponent's field or your field, but it has to be 2 monsters of yours, so that can be a little annoying sometimes. And then Predaplanting. This card is the only trap you play. This is a going second deck, but sometimes either your opponent forces you to go first, or sometimes you just need the follow-up. So this card basically lets you send a Predaplant monster to the graveyard. It places Predaplant counters, Predator counters everywhere on the field. And by doing that, it enables a lot of plays in the follow-up. And that has another effect where if you summon a dark fusion monster, you can banish from the graveyard and pop a card. This is your only spawn trap card removal in the entire archetype. That is a little bit rough. So yeah, we might need to play some sort of like Lightning Storms or something to just have a little bit more there. And then for the extra deck, just a bunch of super poly targets. Mud Dragon. This is not a super poly target. This is the Predaplant Ambulomelidius. And this basically is one of the better cards in the archetype. It on Fusion Summon searches Predaplant card, and then on top of that, it lets you tribute a monster in order to special summon a Predaplant monster from the deck. It's like 2 amazing effects, and it basically enables Darling Cobra. Then we play another Fusion Super Poly target, Garura, and it lets you draw. We play the Chimera Felicia. This is another card that's crazy. It basically helps you out your opponent's monsters. It banishes a monster, and it gains attack when it attacks, and it searches, if it dies, it searches a polymerization or super polymerization if you want to, the following standby phase. Starving Venom, obviously everyone knows this one. Predaplant Trichospolia. This card is even better in Predaplants because it negates all activated effects of monsters with Predator counters. So if you use like the Trilantis to put bunch of Predator counters on your opponent's monsters, and by the way, Trilantis doesn't target, it just when it leaves the field it places all of these counters everywhere, doesn't target. You can essentially negate all monsters on your opponent's board, which is bananas. And then we've got the 3-headed one, which is the Trifil Overlotum. And this card again is really good. It basically, when your opponent special summons them, it has a few effects, and they're even better in Predaplants. So in regular, all this really does is just, it's like a solemn warning. But if you're playing Predaplants and your opponent has predator counters and your monsters have predator counters, this card gains attack for every predator counter monster on the field. So if it potentially could have like 10,000 attack, 5,000 attack, it regularly gains so much attack, and it's your best way of getting over things. And then again, like I said before, it can negate. It's like a solemn warning. You can stop a monster that's summoned, and then on top of that, if there's a monster your opponent controls with predator counters, you can summon this back from the graveyard. And then we've got one Chimera Flesia, or one Guardian Chimera, and if you summon this off of the pendulum effect of this monster, you basically can still pop cards and draw, which is nice. Then we play the Greedy Venom Fusion Dragon, Starving Venom Predapower Dragon. This card, again, is really good. Super good against heroes. This is a super poly target. One relinquished anima just in case. Sometimes we draw the Sarlent or the Bisplip, and Bisplip triggers no matter what. So even if you relinquished anima and you're going second, you can like normal summon, link it away, steal a monster, and search. And then we've got Verde Anaconda, which is actually not even really that good in this archetype, because you fusion lock yourself with the Predapractice sometimes. And then we've got the Underworld Goddess. I just keep this in here in every single deck, but in reality, you really don't need it because you can use Radiant and just tribute your opponent's stuff. But that is this is the main deck. I'm going to give you guys a couple of replays here and show you kind of what the deck does. All right, so this is the first replay here. We're playing against obviously Labyrinth. Labyrinth is a really tough matchup for a lot of the decks that I play, but it's not a tough matchup against this deck because this deck actually has a pretty easy time with Labyrinth, just because everything is a super poly target, first of all, and second of all, you don't really actually need that much spell and trap card removal to deal with Labyrinth, because whatever they summon you're going to effectively deal with, and this deck just has a really good grind game. So as you can see here, we're going to Lone Fire Blossom into the Bliss app, and then we're going to go ahead and use the Ultra Polymerization. Ultra Polymerization is another card that's just kind of crazy. Unfortunately, I'm going to use the Ultra Polymerization on a Pendulum monster, so I'm not going to be able to bring it back, but it's not the end of the world because we have a few different things that we can do. He's going to do something smart, which is we're going to summon the level 5 Predaplant monster, the extra deck one, and he's going to Dogmatic Punishment us. That's really smart because we're not going to be able to use the Trilanthus at all, which is, again, it's really smart. We can't place anything because we don't control any monsters. And then he's going to use, of course, the super annoying Lady Labyrinth here, but it's okay. We've got plenty of plays that don't, it doesn't really matter. We've got lots of plays that we can still do. We still have our normal summon, which is very important. We've got the Orpha Scorpio in hand. We have a lot of different plays available to us. We're still doing quite well here. Obviously, Predapractice, special summon, add a card, activate, and we're going to pitch. We're going to get the Darling Cobra, and we're going to search Super Poly. Awesome. That's one of the great parts of the deck. They can't respond. We can immediately, I just go into the 3 because I want to get rid of a good bit of their stuff, and I don't really need the Darling Cobra. So I'm just going to summon that. They only had one activatable trap left. This is the Virus right here. So I was pretty comfortable that it was going to be like a Welcome Labyrinth or a big Welcome Labyrinth or something. And I was okay with doing it, but they ended up having a Compulse, which, happens. What can you do? So then we're going to go into, obviously, another one of the level 5 because we didn't use its second effect because they negated it. Or no, they didn't negate it. They popped it before we could even do that. And then we're going to go ahead and fuse again into the Chimera Flesia. I make this instead of the Dracospelia because honestly, this card is just better against the deck because we actually need a grind game. So if we lose this monster, we get to search Super Poly. They're going to banish to destroy. They sent this off the trap card there in the grave, off the Dogmatic Punishment. Predaponics is going to, obviously, we're going to have to pay the cost for Predaponics. Summon some monsters back. Unfortunately, we don't have a way to fuse, but it's okay because it's like I'm literally just waiting for my monster to die so that I can fuse, but they're just not killing it because they keep drawing into more and more hand traps. Now they're going to activate the Heavenly Prison. But this is all, of course, just fine. We're going to draw another of the same card, keep paying the 800 life points, special summon back the Darling Cobra. Now we're going to really start playing. We're going to go into the Verde Anaconda here. Verde Anaconda is going to allow us to fuse. We're going to send polymerization. Go into the Dracospalea, should be, yep, right there. And then, of course, next turn, we're going to be able to trigger more things. They're going to ash our ant, and we're going to just go with it. Because, again, now we know more about their hand. They probably have another hand trap there. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to go to battle phase and just end the game. So that is replay number 1. It's a deck I usually struggle against, but this deck has a great matchup against it. Alright, this is the next replay here. Again, it's kind of like the tail end of the Duelist Cup. So this particular replay is going to be against Galaxy. Galaxy's actually gotten into a lot of a stronger deck recently. It used to be a lot weaker before, but now it's really seriously improved. It's actually got some decent going first potential here. It can actually make some formidable boards, like 4 or 5 negates. It's actually kind of impressive. Like, don't take these guys for a joke. Sometimes you have like those silver tier. And like weaker gold tier and stuff like that. You have people in those tiers that play things like Photon and Blue Eyes and stuff like that, but like in the higher ranks, it really doesn't matter what deck you're playing against. Usually by the time you get to the higher ranks, the people are going to be fairly skilled anyway. So he's going to play a little bit into the Max C there. I mean, you kind of have to, otherwise you just get OTK'd. And of course, we're just going to draw the Super Poly. Immediately, we're going to go into the Super Poly target, which is probably Mud Dragon. Yep, we're going to go into the Mud Dragon. Mud Dragon is awesome. I love it as a Super Poly target because I always declare the dark attribute, and then it protects all of my plays for the rest of the turn. We're going to go ahead and ash their Max C so that we can actually play the game, and that's going to be good for us. So yeah, like I said, I love Mud Dragon because as a Super Poly target, it's really good because it hits a wide range of monsters, but also it's really good like for protection because you can continue to build your board, and even if your opponent has like Effect Failure or something, it doesn't actually matter because they can't target anything that's dark for the rest of the turn. So that effect is just really, really, really good. Then we're going to go into the Dracospalea here. We're going to fusion summon again into the 3-headed one, the try one, and we're going to be able to search twice, plus we're going to be able to go into use the Trilanthus effect to place the predator counters on the field. So we're going to place them everywhere here. And that is actually game on board. And I didn't see this coming, what our opponent did here next, but it was really smart. We're going to attack, and they're going to actually use the Photon Jumper. I should have known because they actually added it back. And I didn't read the Photon Jumper, and I should have read it because I never actually played the Photon Jumper. I thought it was a pretty bad card, but I mean, listen, I can't really complain. It really definitely destroyed us here. They're going to go ahead and activate Galaxy Soldier. We're going to chain the Dracospalea to negate it and turn it into a level 1, which actually does matter against Galaxy, because them having level 1s definitely doesn't help them. They're going to tribute both to summon the Photon Galaxy Dragon, banish a card. It's going to be our Trilanthus, but it doesn't even matter because they just kind of unfortunately for them, they kind of screwed themselves. They're low on resources, and if they did XYZ summon in any way, we had the 3-headed one to just negate the XYZ summon, which is really cool. And then we have the predator counters that we can place all over the place. And yeah, it was just insane. There was no way we were going to lose that one. But that is the last replay. Like I said, I'm going to be releasing a tier list for this sometime soon. Awesome deck, and if you want to see more content from Predaplants, let me know. Thank you for watching. La 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 la.